Hi, my name is Adrian Simmons, and I'm the Chief Creative Designer here at Element CPA, where we help entrepreneurs to design their business and their finance. In our opinion, the tools of design are particularly important in this time of the COVID-19 virus fallout because they prompt business owners to think critically, one, about the assumptions that your business model and profit model are based on, and two, to think creatively about what the appropriate response in this time is, or possible responses in this time are. So that's really our focus here today. I'm going to switch over to the slides to be able to share with you. So our goal is really twofold. One, to equip you with some tools to help get your arms around your current situation and your business's current situation. And two, to design an intelligent, forward-facing response. So this video is targeted to businesses who in the accounting industry we would call going concerns, meaning your doors are open and you're continuing to operate, but that might be at varying degrees of capacity. If you're in a situation where your business is already shuttered, there's a different set of advice that we will provide. If you're members of Element CPA, certainly reach out to us and we can help guide you through that. But this video is targeted towards those who are continuing to operate and some things they can do to do that smartly and more intelligently. So let's start to look through those together. Really 3 steps we're going to go over with you today. One, a tool we developed, simple tool to sort of help you get your arms around your situation and brainstorm some of the responses. 2, we believe it's important for you to get a read on your cash position, where you are, where you're headed. And 3, we're going to take those inputs and we're going to synthesize them into your 30-day plan. So let's start to take a look at those together, shall we? First one, how can you go about getting your arms around your current situation and start to brainstorm some responses? There's a tool we use called the 360-degree value proposition. Typically, when we're working with entrepreneurs, it's around helping them think through this from how they create value for their customers. We're going to adapt it in a different way for our purposes here today. Just so you know, if you want to read further about that, we do have a post up on our blog called The Role of the Entrepreneur that goes into that more deeply. But I'm going to take that tool, extract it from its normal setting, and what I've done is put it together in a worksheet that is going to help you sort of assess your risk and think through the responses. Just so you know, the worksheets I show you here today are available in the link with this video. So if you click on that link, it'll send you a Word doc, an Excel doc file that you can edit on your own. So this is available to you so you don't have to recreate the wheel. Just looking at the 360-degree value proposition on its own, this illustration that we came up with is intended to show that every business is really the meeting of 4 different groups that come together in order to create value, and each one of those groups leaves that exchange better off than they came. So those 4 groups are buyers or customers, workers or your team members, suppliers are parties external to the business that provide things into the business. And then fourthly, the entrepreneur themselves or the business owners. So each of these are the 4 faces of any business that exists out there. And as a result, they also become a great way to evaluate the 4 risks related to the business through those relationships. So you'll notice I've got a section here that's saying what are the risks. And what I encourage you to do is use this worksheet. Again, just take a little time to think through and start bulleting them out. The goal here is just sort of stream of consciousness, just list those things out, things you're concerned about, things you probably already thought of, get them down on paper. Sometimes as you start writing, you're going to start to realize other things that maybe previously weren't there, but once you empty your brain, they can now come into you, which is the benefit of writing things out like this. And just take that moment to go through everything. I've got a couple starter questions in each of the areas just to sort of get those juices flowing, but this is not intended to be an exhaustive list, and every business is going to be different. So use them simply to prime, to sort of jumpstart the analysis, but again, let those juices continue flowing. Get yourself in a good space so you can do this as well, and you won't be interrupted. So things like on the front of buyers, what buyer segments are going to be more impacted or will be more impacted. Think about now, but also in the coming months. Which ones are less likely to be impacted? What is the degree of impact that they may or may not experience? Is it just a 5 or 10% hit? Is it a 25 to 50% hit or more? So thinking through the buyer side of the equation. Similarly, with your team members that are part of the business, which team members could be or have been more infected, less affected. What is it that is going to impact the ability of your team to continue to function? What are the key things that need to be in place? One of the things I advising the businesses we work with is to also think about the emotional or the psychological side. It's not just practically what tools are needed, but also what environment is needed in which to operate and to continue to have people be able to contribute and be a part of the team. On the supplier side, which suppliers will be impacted? Are there second or third degree impacts that are out there? Your supplier may not have a direct impact to them, but maybe they have a supplier upstream from them that's going to be impacted. So take a couple minutes to think through that. Is there a second or a third degree impact that you should be considering as part of your business so you don't get caught off guard? And then lastly, the entrepreneurs, how much disruption, for example, could you absorb? Again, both from a psychological standpoint, from a financial standpoint, etc. So the goal here, think through those risks, think through them all along these four fronts, and just let the information flow. You're not trying to judge anything, just get all that down on the paper. A couple pointers I wanted to bring up when we talk about those risks. One, I think it's probably unwise for any business to consider they don't have any risk or that the risk is very negligible. There's too many interconnectednesses within our economy to I think, assume that any one type of business is insulated. And for some, it may take longer, but by considering that now rather than later, it's just going to have you be better prepared for that. So one, don't think that you are invincible. Second, as you evaluate risks, I think I already mentioned this, there was a second and third degree risk, so be sure to think through those. All right, after you've got those risks out of your head onto paper, switch gears and think through the responses, possible responses to the specific risks you raised, possible responses you've thought about and maybe are already doing, and just sort of get those out on paper. Again, the goal here is not to prejudge or evaluate, just to list all of them. Sometime by listing one, it'll make you think of another one. It's often the third or fourth idea down that chain that's going to be a really good one, whereas the first or second may not have been. So don't sort of filter your thoughts, just sort of put them down on paper. When you think about responses as well, a piece of advice I have is to think in twofold. One are defensive responses that are going to try to mitigate risk. How can you prevent a particular risks from damaging the company too much? But then I also want you to switch to the offensive side in terms of where are the opportunities as well. Things on the upside that you could do or pivot to that previously weren't there. It's not just about how to stay locked down and hunkered down. It's also about what can we create that's new to be able to serve existing needs in the market or even move the business in a different direction that can be helpful. Again, some questions just to get you primed and going along this front. Can we or should we pursue new buyers or new buyer segments? Are there payment terms that we should be changing with our existing customers or sales that are going on right now? On the worker side, what can we do to support team members and to get things done, plus their general well-being? Are there new things that could be done by retasking our existing talent pool? On the supplier side, should we be backing up our systems, double checking different security settings if people are working remotely or set properly, etc.? For the entrepreneur themselves, what boundaries make sense for you to put in place to be sure that you don't get overextended either from energy, money, or otherwise? And what might you do on a periodic basis to make sure that you are being refreshed and you're able to continue if things are going awry? So those are important things to think through in advance to make sure that you actually have some of those responses in play and you can just act on them as appropriate, as opposed to having to constantly be running in circles figuring out on the spot what to do. So get all of these different responses out onto the piece of paper. And for now, just leave them there. All right, so we're going to do this first piece of getting your arms around and brainstorming Then we're going to go on to the second piece, which is to get a read on your cash position. So there's a variety of different ways to do this. The way that we use with the businesses we work with is a tool called Futurely. Futurely has a variety of different features that help businesses analyze, see where they stand, but it also has a forecasting tool, a pretty powerful forecasting tool within the system. It lets you see what your different income levels are, and I've got some data file just showing right now. It also lets you see your expenses, and from that you can build different models to sort of say, hey, I'm going to increase, decrease, I'm going to modify this line or that line. My goal here is not to sort of demonstrate how to use this software. It's just to show you this is available. Futurely does allow you to have a 7-day free trial. So that's enough time if you're not already on the platform to sort of get in, get your numbers in there and start to run them. Typically, again, we use this in connection with the Zero accounting platform with the businesses that we work with, because Futurely can connect, automatically pull your accounting data in, and you're off to the races, being able to just make tweaks as needed to your data. So that can be a great way to come at this. If for whatever reason you don't have data in this form and you're not able to use this, just to let you know, we did put together a very simple spreadsheet tool that allows you to sort of populate your 2019 and up to March information, and then use this spreadsheet to do some simple calculations on what the rest of this year might look like based on some of the inputs you put here. Usually when we sit down with entrepreneurs, we help them think through critically their profit model and how to best group their cost structure and how to best think about their revenue. Time, is sort of the essence. So right now, I just recommend folks, if you haven't done something like that already, to just go quick and dirty and to perhaps have a couple inflows for revenue and a couple outflows for your expenses, and to just sort of group them at that level. There's no need to sort of have things down to the penny. The point here is to get a feel for what your cash looks like and what it may look like in the coming months. And again, you can use the spreadsheet tool if you need it. Couple pointers on this front. First of all, one, keep it simple, as I just mentioned, but two, run more than one model. The future is an unknown, and the best way to prepare for an unknown future is to have a couple different plans. So the first one I would recommend running is what your best guess is right now. So fill out these numbers, run the forecast based on what you suspect the best guess of the future is. I would then run a second model with the, hey, if it's worse than we expect, what might that look like? And see what happens. And then I'd run a third model, which is the sort of where is our break point? Play with those numbers to find out at which point does it actually no longer work. And it's good to know where that lower bound is, and it's good to know that early on as opposed to 3 months into it and it's just absorbing cash, and you are sort of lost that, where if you had recognized it early, you could have acted differently. So one, keep your design simple. Two, run more than one scenario. You can adjust the numbers here based on using percentages or dollar amounts. The point is really to push and pull the different levels of your levers of your profit model to see where the breakpoints are, where the pivot points are. And I would encourage you to not be too rosy, but also not to be too dour, but to be sober. So don't pretend like everything's going to be fine, but there's no need to say that it's the apocalypse if it's not going to be for your industry. But try to be as sober as possible as you put it together. And this is also where you can incorporate, if your business has applied for some of the different relief provisions that are out there, go ahead and work that into your cash flows so you can see how that's going to help carry you through some of these different times that are out there. All right. So that's the second thing we want to encourage folks to do, is to get a read on your cash. And then thirdly, it's time to start pulling that together into forming your 30-day plan. So the approach I suggest folks to take when they're doing this is to think at two different levels. One, thematically, and two, tactically. What do I mean by that? When thinking thematically, I want you to think that way for the 3, 6, 12-month perspective. There's no use having a big hit list of action items and agenda items for the further out because the landscape's always changing. But what you can know is the general themes that you need to be attuned to. And the way you're going to develop those themes is by looking back at that risk and response analysis we did and look for different common threads that run through that. From there, I encourage you to identify at least 3 big picture themes that are relevant for your particular business and your particular environment right now. And just sort of note those. All right, this is important, that's important, this is important. These are the 3 most important things to make my business model work. Similarly, as you look through the cash analysis that we just went over, identify the 3 important themes as far as your profit model goes. What are the core pieces that need to be in place to make sure that that is working, and if they aren't there, that it won't be working. Knowing what those are, again, is going to allow you to stay attuned to those as events unfold. Better to know them in advance. Then having looked at those themes, what I'm going to encourage you to do is to then say, all right, what are the concrete moves to make in the next 15 days and the next 30 days? Just focus on the 15 days and on the 30 days and identify a few actions in each so that you can move your business forward and respond to what's being done in the broader world there. So think thematically, then the second step is to think tactically over that next 15 and 30 days. As you think tactically, one piece of advice I'd like to give you there is to look for what I call combo moves. Those are actions that you can take now that are going to serve you in the short term, in the temporary part of trying to build a bridge to the future, but they also will serve you in the long term, that your business can continue to use those as you go even out past through this situation that we're in right now. So there might be something that you've been wanting to do for a long period of time, and now this is the perfect opportunity to actually do that, to change your business in that way, to use a new particular back-end software, to develop a different product, etc., whatever it may be. So think of different combo moves, or there may be things that you haven't thought of, but now that you have, as you're choosing among them, think of those things and maybe put into place first those things that are going to also be useful to you after this time period has passed. So obviously you need to do what you need to do if your business is in that situation, so it's okay to take temporary measures that are going to expire after the 3, 6, 12-month period, but to the degree you can do some combo moves, that certainly is a smart thing to do. So some closing thoughts for you. Again, I want to emphasize the importance for you as an entrepreneur to simply take time aside, away from the noise, away from the reaction of everything that's going on, to sort of think critically. That's your role, is to be able to think critically and creatively about what's going on right now so that you can come back with that plan. There's something I ran across the other day that Simon Sinek had shared with his team, and he encouraged them to think about the question, what will we be or could we be on the other side of this tunnel? What will we be or could we be on the other side of this tunnel? And when you shift your mind's focus to a future date and sort of what you'd like to look at that future date, it helps to relieve some of the pressure, and it gets you thinking in a more imaginative and creative way as opposed to a defensive and then sort of out of fear. So I liked that question, and so I share it with you as well. Because that's really what entrepreneurs are about, is about imagining that future and sort of pulling that future into the present. So I hope you found this video helpful to you as well as part of doing that. Some tools that are available, the worksheet packet, both the risk response and the spreadsheet available in the links here. I'll also put some links for the cloud projection software that may be helpful to you. Encourage you to reach out to your business advisor coach if you have one, or to get one. Elements team members, or Elements Circle members rather, can reach out to us as we're continuing to help and counsel them. And if you like what you've seen here, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also visit our blog, because there's lots of good information there as well. Thank you for joining me today, and as always, keep building financial strength for what truly matters.